Some are born to wear a crown, and some are born to do the unimaginable without ever needing one. Carlos Alcaraz didn't step onto the court surrounded by inherited glory. He wasn't labeled a living legend like Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic. He didn't need a crown to be seen as great because what he brought with him was a primal warrior spirit. No show, no glitter, no media machine painting him as the next big thing, just silence and a fierce determination that can't be seen with the naked eye. While the world was still busy romanticizing a golden era that had passed, a young man walked onto the court, quietly. He didn't talk much, he just played. He just fought. And every swing of Alcaraz's racket whispered a silent declaration. I'm here, not to be a background. I'm here to make new history. But that journey didn't begin under the spotlight. It started on early mornings in Spain, where a little boy held a racket at age 3. No one knew who he was. No one expected him to be the heir to the big 3. But one thing was certain. He wasn't waiting for approval, he trained. He progressed. He moved forward, as if destiny was something you take in your own hands, not something handed to you. And that, right there, is the life philosophy that Motivation Hub Rise wants to ignite in others. You don't need titles. You don't need a crown. You just need your own reason, and the belief that you deserve to show up. In today's world, it's far too easy to be fooled by the spotlight. People confuse fame with value, applause with truth. But from the very beginning, Alcaraz chose a different path. He wasn't trying to become someone else. He simply wanted to become the best version of himself. And when you understand that, you stop running the race of comparison. You stop looking left and right. You start looking inward, and like Carlos, you realize you don't need to be crowned by anyone. You just need to beat your old self, one day at a time. And perhaps what makes Alcaraz most dangerous isn't his technique. It's not his power, it's his mindset. He doesn't fight to prove something to the world. He fights for himself and his journey. In the eyes of Motivation Hub Rise, that is the new definition of a leader. Not someone who sits on a throne, but someone who stands tall in the storm and never loses himself. No one is born with a steel spirit. Steel is forged in fire, and resilience is built from failures no one ever sees. For Carlos Alcaraz, it wasn't just about missed shots. It was about the injuries, the times he fell, the quiet sighs in empty training rooms when no cameras were rolling. At Wimbledon 2022, Alcaraz lost to Jannik Sinner in 4 sets. Many called it youthful inexperience. But Carlos didn't make excuses. He didn't lash out. He didn't lose heart. He simply said quietly, "I'll be back, stronger." That wasn't a promise to the world. It was a commitment to himself. In a world full of big names, a young tennis player can disappear after a single bad season. But Alcaraz didn't let failure diminish his inner worth. He didn't ask, "Who did I lose to?" He asked, "What can I learn from myself today?" That's a powerful lesson for anyone struggling on their path to personal growth. None of us are immune to failure, but the difference lies in how we respond. Some choose to blame. Some choose to hide. But Alcaraz chose to face it and move forward. The days of injury no one knew about, the painful hours of physical therapy where quitting seemed easier, the silent moments in empty gyms while the world praised someone else. That's where a true warrior is forged. You might see Carlos Alcaraz smiling as he lifts a trophy, but what you don't see is the Carlos who lifted himself up from the darkest days. And if you're in that dark season right now, if you're losing, if you're hurting, if you're doubting yourself, remember this: you are being forged, not to become someone else, but to become you, stronger than ever before. Alcaraz's story proves one thing: no one can truly defeat you unless you choose to give up. And if you still dare to rise, even with trembling knees, you are still in control. There will be times you fall and no one will notice. But it's those quiet comebacks that shape you into a true warrior. Many people look at Carlos Alcaraz's incredible physical strength and think he wins because he's just too strong. They're wrong. Alcaraz doesn't win with just muscle. He wins with his mind, with his heart, with an inner force that no bicep can measure. In the 2023 Wimbledon final, where he faced Novak Djokovic, one of the most resilient and complete players in tennis history, everything seemed to collapse for Alcaraz after losing the first set 1-6. Everyone thought, well, here we go. Novak's going to dominate like always. Some even started writing victory headlines for Djokovic. But then the unexpected happened. Alcaraz didn't crumble. He didn't fade. On the contrary, he became sharper, more focused, and more alive with each passing set. In a post-match interview, Alcaraz said, "I lost the first set, but in my mind, I never left the fight. That is the power of the mind, and it's something few are patient enough to master. Not everyone can stay calm in front of a legend. Not everyone has the patience to wait for the perfect moment after being crushed in the first round. And not everyone dares to believe in themselves when the entire crowd is cheering for the other side. But Carlos did, not because he's superhuman, but because he trained his mental discipline like a silent warrior. In today's world, many people give up, not because they lack skill, but because their mind gives in too easily. The distractions, the fear of judgment, the voice that whispers, "You're not enough." Those are the invisible rulers that make you lose before the match even begins. You don't need an opponent out there. You've already tripped yourself up. But look at Carlos. You'll see a young athlete with the heart of someone who's fought 1,000 unseen battles. You'll see a man who dared to believe in himself, not when he was winning, but in the exact moment most would fall. And that is a lesson for anyone trying to lead their own life. If you want to go far, you must learn to stand firm in the storm. If you want success, you must first defeat the doubts in your own mind. Remember this, victory doesn't begin on the court. It begins in the mind. And if your inner resolve is not trained, you'll always tremble in the face of any challenge. Shakutsip don't have to be the strongest. You just have to be the most steadfast. And once you've conquered yourself, nothing and no one can stop you. Do you know what makes Carlos Alcaraz stand out the most in his generation? It's not just the titles, not the ATP points, and definitely not the applause after every victory. It's his authenticity. After that historic Wimbledon final in 2023, Carlos didn't hesitate to say, "I was nervous, but I enjoyed every moment on court. And I didn't fight for the title, I fought for the love of tennis." The words may sound soft, but they carry immense weight. In a world where many trade truth for trophies, Carlos chooses to stay real. And you can see that clearly on the court. When he celebrates, he smiles like a kid. When he loses a point, he doesn't smash his racket. He doesn't blame. When he speaks, he doesn't try to sound different. He doesn't hide behind a glamorous image. Carlos isn't trying to become a role model. He's just being himself. And that makes him respected, not just feared. In life, we often get caught in the race for a crown, for some form of recognition from others, a title at work, a status in society, a nod of approval from someone we admire. We think, once I get there, I'll finally be enough. But then what? Once the crown is on, many people lose who they are. Carlos Alcaraz reminds us, you don't need a crown to be great. True greatness shows in how you rise after a loss, how you stay kind even at the top, how you stay true to yourself even when no one's watching. Real glory isn't on the leaderboard. It's in the look of respect from someone across the net. It's in those moments you keep a promise to yourself, even when nobody else sees. Carlos touches millions of hearts, not just with tennis skills, but with how present he is, with how he never tries to be someone else. You don't need titles to have worth. You just need to be yourself. grounded, sincere, and unshaken by expectations that don't belong to you. They shout his name after every ace. They cheer when he lifts a trophy. But the most admirable thing about Carlos Alcaraz isn't when the spotlight is brightest. It's in the moments no one sees. In both sports and life, people often only remember the winner, they glorify the crowning moment, but they forget the thousands of hours of quiet practice. The 5 a.m. mornings alone, the failed shots repeated until perfected. Carlos understands that, and he accepts this truth. Real value doesn't come from applause, but from consistency. And you know what? We live in a time where every move feels like it needs an audience. We post our workouts. We wait for likes after doing something kind. We need proof that we're being seen. And when no one's watching, we begin to doubt ourselves. Am I still worthy? Should I even keep going? But Carlos proves something powerful. You can keep rising, even if no one's cheering. You can shine, even if no one's recording. You can be extraordinary in the most ordinary of moments. That's the spirit of a true warrior, not fighting for recognition, but living to fulfill your own potential. When you can get up each morning, lace up your shoes, step outside, train, push, grow, and keep moving forward, simply because you know you're meant for more. That's when you stop chasing the crown. You start building your own kingdom. Remember this: no kings, no titles, no applause needed. Just you, courageous, kind, and never backing down. If you're on a journey to live authentically, boldly, without waiting for anyone's validation, then you are exactly the reason we created this channel. Hit subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Share below. What was the moment you kept going, even when no one applauded? This is Motivation Hub Rise. We're not here to lead you. We're here to remind you, you are the only one powerful enough to lead yourself.